underground, 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 underground,
Greetings, surface dwellers. My name is Michael, and these are my chthonic musings. We're still in the midst of RPG A Day 2025. It's still August of 2025, but I found myself falling a little behind. So I've, rather than abandoning ship, I've come up with a plan that for the rest of RPG A Day 2025, I will be doubling up, taking two topics at a time, merging them together and see what we get, see what comes out. And so that should be able to reasonably allow me to finish up and do all of the topics for this year. And so, without further ado, let's begin. So today we're going to be touching on prompt number 8, explore, and prompt number 9, inspire. And I'm going to throw a third concept word in there as well, which I'll get to. And rather than touch on what these prompts trigger, as ideas within the game world, within the game, I'm going to take a step back a little bit today and talk about us as players and game masters, probably particularly game masters, and what these concepts can bring to us, and therefore bring to the game through us. So I'm going to cover as briefly as I can the ideas of exploration and its fruit in discovery, also inspiration and specifically its manifestations as joy and satisfaction. And then finally, I'm adding a third concept to kind of round out the triumvirate here of iteration and mastery. So let's start with exploration. All right, first of all, I should explain when I'm talking about exploration, I'm talking about consciously going into a place that's unknown. In it, doesn't necessarily mean physically. It can be, physically going into unknown places and seeing what's there, and it can be driven by a very specific question that you're looking to have answered, or it could just be a general exploration for you to see, like, this is a new experience, I'm just going to take it in. I've listed down here like 3 different categories. This is not exhaustive. This is just what came to mind while prepping for this, and I'm sure there could be other categories added to it. But mainly, I'm looking at exploration as consumption, creation, or in a social environment. And by consumption, this, kind of has a negative connotation, and I don't necessarily mean it that way. We all need to consume food and water to survive, and that's not necessarily a negative. But although, like food, there can be high quality and low quality consumption. In not only in food, but a number of other things like the media that we consume, or even the books or other inputs that we choose to take in. But I think we as gamers can try to make a conscious effort to one, balance out our total consumption, and amongst the other categories of exploration and the other things that we'll go through, including iteration and mastery, but also to try to, as much as possible, make sure that our consumption is of a higher rather than lower quality. And here I'm talking about things like what we read, and in a game sense, we have a long-standing tradition of like kind of sharing what we consider to be our inspirations for the different genres that we're trying to replicate in our games. Everything from the famous Appendix N of the Dungeon Master's Guide of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, all the way to the touchstones of the campaign frameworks of Daggerheart. Exploring these lists and the media, the book, movies, streaming shows, what have you, that they reference, can be a source of exploration, inspiration if we find something of value in them, and as well as a kind of a social cohesion of being able to have shared experiences with the other people that we're playing with. In addition, as we're taking in these inputs, we may come across challenges, things that we had never experienced before, we don't know about, such as like improving our vocabulary when we come across words that we are not entirely sure what they mean. And also, when I'm talking about consumption, I don't just mean books and movies and so forth. Also talking about just like taking a walk in nature and experiencing whatever that brings to you. Going to concerts and listening to music or other live performances. All of this is choosing to put yourself into a situation that could change you, could inspire you, and direct where you want to bring things from that point. Creation or creative exploration, as I'm using the terms here, involves a more active role where you're engaging in the unknown, but through either the creation of some tangible product or engaging in some sort of a performance, with whether it be musical performance or a sport or some other activity. We have many examples within our games themselves of creating maps for our games, creating adventures for our games, different props that we can use as either player handouts or also the miniatures that we might be using or other terrain, and the engaging in the act of painting and even the act of playing our games. They are not a passive undertaking, whether acting as a player or a game master. We're always reacting to what the other players are doing and presenting to us. And I also include in this many other activities, too numerous to create an exhaustive list, but just as an example, things like learning to juggle or do axe throwing, archery, fencing, horse riding. Even my creation of this video, or others that do similar things. It's an act of creation. And finally, for the social component, what I'm talking about here is really, getting to learn about your other players, and what motivates them. What do they enjoy about this game that we're playing? What are their touchstones and inspirations? And to that extent, we build a knowledge base that's important for creating the best game that we can. And as a result of this exploration and discovery, we may come to, derive these inspirations, and it may be the satisfaction of feeling a little bit more confident and competent as we build up our vocabulary, or our games get a little smoother every time we run the next one. We may go to our first overnight camping event, and sitting around the campfire, somebody's leading all the people with a guitar in different songs, or there's somebody teaching folk dancing, and it's something that you discover you really enjoy, and it brings joy to you. And I think these inspirations and this joy and this satisfaction can motivate us to continue, to either go back to further exploration and maybe widen our knowledge base, or there may be a chain where you discover one thing, but within that there's other questions, and so you go to let's say a historical living history museum, let's say, and you learn a little bit about pewter and pewter crafters at Smith's, and then that may lead you to the question of well, what is pewter? What it's it's an alloy, but what makes it up, and then those metals that make a pewter, where do they come from? And you start to delve a little bit into the knowledge base of smelting and mining and all kinds of things. And tying into that, you might do a little research of historically where and when these innovations were made. Particularly if you're trying to tie it in, realistically to a real world analogy in your game, and you decide you'd like to minimize the anachronisms as much as possible. And beside leading you to further exploration and widening your knowledge and your skill base, it can also drive you to iterate. And what I mean by that is to try to develop a mastery of something. So you may have been introduced to the folk dancing and be very intrigued by it and excited by it, but you're not going to be fantastic the first time through, or playing a guitar, or singing, or other endeavors. So you're going to go through a cycle of improvement by doing and practicing. Basically, that's what it is: practicing and developing that craft. And so, until I resurface, may your successes be many and your failures be memorable.